Hey, are you happy with the country currently? Are you happy the direction the country's going? If so, why make a change? Vote liberal. Side effects of voting liberal may include, but are not limited to, hyperinflation, false hope, housing crisis, hypersensitivity, internet censorship, never-ending lockdowns, increased taxes, internment camps, medical dictatorships, genocide, Chinese takeovers, vaccine mandates, two-tier society, virtue signaling, gaslighting, more carbon tax, worsening climate change, universal basic income, increased suicides and overdoses, decreases in productivity, decrease in livable wages, and undrinkable water for the indigenous. Ever since I voted liberal, I've actually enjoyed watching my wife get fucked by other dudes. I've also become a power bottom. And that's why this time around, I'll be voting liberal again. Is that a wrap? Is that a wrap? Jeez, is anyone actually gonna vote for this dickhead?
All I have to say is they should put warning labels if you vote liberal. Maybe people will actually think twice before they do it. What do you think? Should they put warning labels? I thought that commercial was brilliant. You know what the problem with Canada is? If you tax people to oblivion just for working and you give free money out to people that refuse to go to work, just think about it. When you speed on a highway, you get a ticket. Why do they give you a ticket? The tax ticket, so that you reduce your speed and you don't speed. What about sugary beverages? They put taxes on that as well so that you consume less sugary beverages. And didn't the liberals put a carbon tax so that you would consume less carbon? So why exactly are they taxing people for earning an income? Are they wanting us to earn less of an income? The liberals have made this country such an undesirable place to live. Why would you work your butt off when you could lose up to 70% of your purchasing power in taxes, government fees, inflation, and other government-imposed costs over time? Like, just actually think about your property taxes, your federal taxes, your provincial taxes, then excess tax, then this tax. And when you spend money, you pay taxes. At the end of the day, if your family's making $166,000 together, you're paying 43.5% of income tax. But after you add up all the other taxes, you could be upwards of 70% of your life is you're working for the government. For 70% of your life, you only own 30% of your life. You just get to keep your 30 cents. Does that create a desirable place to live? And with your 30 cents, you still got to pay for your shelter, your food, your everything just to survive. You're barely able to make it. And what exactly do you get in return for this wonderful 70% of your life investment working for the government? If you question them, they call you a racist. If you question their uncontrolled immigration levels not seen before in our history, or they just call you unpatriotic. If you question their uncontrollable spending, causing the worst inflation we've ever seen in our lifetime. Don't you want to build? Don't you want us to invest so that we can build? They've been investing for a decade and we have absolutely nothing to show for it. This country has become a complete illusion. And the liberals' grip on power need you to fall for their illusion and accept a lower standard of living, or a country that is completely different, an unrecognizable country from what you grew up in. And what do we get in return with all this investment? You did everything right in your life. You followed the rules and played by the book. They offer you a list of censorship bills and mass surveillance after you've done everything right. Being a Canadian patriot in Canada is somehow seen as undemocratic. You are seen as wrong. And this is exactly why I create my content. You're not alone in this country. I am your voice. And you are definitely not losing your mind. There are millions upon millions of people that are just like you that are out there in this country. We are no longer going to sit here and be silent. Just remember, you are not alone. I got a lot for you today. Let's get into this report. Hopefully everybody in Canada is wide awake. Tony Clement just exposed Mark Carney's plan for the USMCA. I want everybody to pay attention to this.
Is like, when might that happen? Because again, it's that we don't get a lot of information on this side. You don't know what you can trust from the White House. Ambassador Huckström certainly indicated that it wasn't anywhere close, but who knows? He even offered a caveat himself. I've been wrong many times before. What are your thoughts on the way that's playing out?
Yeah, a couple thoughts, Vashi. First of all, not surprising that none of us on this call know what the actual strategy is. Mark Carney isn't going to open his kimono and let us all know how he's going to deal with Donald Trump in the minutia of a negotiation. I get that. But the political thing that happens as a result of that is that everybody can fill in the blanks as they want to, just as the leader of the opposition did, and say, look, we've got people who are hurting in this country, and we do. And it's not just the aluminum and steel industry. We have more bankruptcies happening in this country than startups because of a lot of economic uncertainty. So that should be a pressure on the Prime Minister. But I'm going to say this first on your show, Vashi, that I'm filling in the blanks because there's no discussion with the Canadian people of what the strategy is. And this could be, Mark Carney playing for time. He says he doesn't want a bad deal. I get that. But at the same time, maybe he doesn't want a deal at all. Maybe he's ragging the puck until fall of next year, where he can call an election and say, look, I need a new mandate to really fight for Canada's interests against Donald Trump. And that's going to be the message that Mark Carney is going to bring into the next election campaign yet again. So that could be the political strategy here. And I'm allowed to say that because he hasn't enunciated a strategy. So I could be right, I could be wrong. Who knows, right?
I want to hire you as my
The question-
national campaign director. Right.
The question I keep coming back to is whether or not.
Isn't that a terrifying thought, Canada? And he's probably bang on. If you keep the boogeyman Donald Trump, Orange Man bad, and TDS at 1,000%, which the Liberals know exactly what they're doing, scare the boomers into thinking we're going to get taken over by tanks. Tanks are coming over the border to take over. The 51st state talk is going to come back. Then they're going to pull an election and try to get a super majority for Mark Carney. Is everybody prepared for this? We need to wake up Canadians before it's too late. If we have a fall election, the Conservatives need to win, or this country that we love is finished. This is going to be an incredibly difficult thing for Canadians to do because just CBC, mainstream media, is against patriotic Canadians. CBC interrupted Pierre Poilievre twice in a conference that he was crushing it. He was absolutely crushing Mark Carney and the Liberals with facts and truth. There was so much truth happening that they had to just interrupt him during a live update. Yes, the Venezuela earthquake was fair enough reason, but check out this reason that they interrupted him.
In Canada, but it's not up to me to dictate to Quebec what government they want.
Hi, Poilievre. Thanks for coming to the
That is
theater.
the
Just
leader
have
of the
a quick question
opposition,
about
Pierre
the,
Poilievre, speaking with reporters there. Let's bring in the CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian, who is listening in to that. He joins us from Ottawa. Rafi, some sort of last day of school energy.
Unbelievable. So they just cut him when he was still in the press conference giving his answers for this 100% bias bashing Pierre Poilievre. As soon as Pierre is getting momentum, they cut him off and they replaced him with biased reporting. And of course, David Crocken has to lie about Pierre Poilievre's news conference, saying that they covered it in its entirety, when in fact they cut him off twice.
Well, I got to say, in the press conference he gave on Thursday, which we carried in its entirety live on CBC News Network, he had a really good moment on the disability tax credit with a good policy solution there. Stuff like that, I think that could work, but who knows?
Yeah, they cut him off because he had too many good things to say. And even David admits that one of the things he heard he liked. We covered it in its entirety. CBC is absolute trash. Why does mainstream media attack Pierre Poilievre on a daily basis? It's because he is the real deal. He is an actual threat. We're going to watch this video, then we're going to take a look at the liberal machine going after this guy because they know Mark Carney's currently in big trouble.
So imagine there's this club. It's got its privileges, but there's one problem. You don't get to join. Welcome to Carney's Canada. There is a club in this country of liberal power brokers, insiders, and lobbyists. They get rich making others poor. We saw it just last week with the Carney condo bailout. So here's what happened. The Liberals inflated a housing bubble, making billions for these particular developers. Then the bubble burst, and Mark Carney couldn't have them lose money.
Developers are stuck. They don't want to sell at a loss. They can't afford to hold those empty units indefinitely.
Well, somebody's going to have to lose money. If the condos sell below the cost of building them, then shouldn't it be the corporations who made the bad decision? No. They're part of the club. You, on the other hand, are not part of the club because you did not host a fundraiser for Mark Carney like they did. You did not host a $25,000 a head event for his housing minister like they did. Because they're in the club, they pass their losses on to you. I wish this were an isolated incident, but there's also the tens of billions of dollars of corporate welfare programs that Mark Carney has set up, giving money to companies that should be raising it through their sales and through their private investment, like happens in the real world. And then there's the Alto Rail scam. This is a project that will probably not even begin construction for 10 years, and yet they already have 18 executives who've received $2.8 million of bonuses. Bonuses for what? They have no start date, no route, no builder, no investor, no nothing, and yet they're getting performance bonuses in the millions of dollars paid for by you. Of course they are. They're in the club, and you're not. This is how Mark Carney made his fortune at Brookfield. He was not a businessman. He was a power broker. His job was to convert political power into government favors, and he did it very well. Here he is bragging that he got a green fuel mandate on aviation that raised ticket prices for flying for regular passengers, but ultimately made money for Brookfield on its investments.
What's happened in the UK, the EU, is they've said to major airlines, look, if you're flying in and out of Heathrow or wherever, you have to have 10% of your load has to be sustainable aviation fuel, because all of a sudden American Airlines, British Airways need to buy that fuel. They'll pay a green premium. You've got an offtake, that's high credit quality. And so in that case, we Brookfield put $1 billion to work there, and it's a fantastic opportunity.
Here he's calling for government funding for heat pumps.
We need almost 2 million Canadians to transition from expensive propane, oil, electric baseboard heating to more affordable electric heat pumps.
What do you know? His company is invested in heat pumps. And then after all of that, he stashed the cash in offshore tax havens. One organization even said that Brookfield was the #1 tax avoider in all of Canada. So while he avoids paying his share, he makes you spend more on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined. This is the liberal club economy. And that's what we're fighting against. And the club knows it. That's why they fight back so hard against me every day and every way you see them attacking me in the media. They know that I will cancel the corporate welfare, close the offshore tax havens, end the $90 billion Alto disaster. There will be no condo bailouts under Pierre Poilievre's leadership, and they know it. We're going to go from top-down crony capitalism to bottom-up free enterprise capitalism. We're going to go from an economy of carve-outs, bailouts, and handouts to an economy of low taxes, low debt, and stronger paychecks for all. We'll go from an economy for the few to an economy for the many. We will be a country that puts you back in charge of your life, where the government is out of your way, off your back, and by your side. We're going to be tearing off the start line, my friends. We're going to ensure that we keep fighting, we keep the hope alive, and we keep on going.
Tony Clement saying that we're going to have a fall election and Mark Carney's going to do no deal with Donald Trump, keep fear at 1,000% and then try to steal a massive majority. And now mainstream media is on the offensive, going after Pierre Poilievre, saying he's polling at 0. Nobody likes Pierre Poilievre. Check out Nick Nanos. But after I show you Nick Nanos, I got some data for you.
And Mark Carney has I think it's about a 24-point advantage over Pierre Poilievre when we ask Canadians who they would prefer as Prime Minister.
So despite that gap that you pointed out, are we seeing any meaningful progress from Poilievre?
No, not really. The Conservative numbers are flat and Pierre Poilievre's numbers are flat.
Who's Nick Nanos? And has the government given Nick Nanos from Nanos Research any money? Well, I asked AI to look through all the government contracts for the last 15 years, and well, the top 25 contracts provided Nick Nanos, the guy that you just saw, $2.6 million. And get this, if you go through all of the different contracts that Nick guy just got, oh, he's not biased at all. He's just been paid off $2.6 million. But get this, how many of those contracts don't meet the $10,000 threshold? He might have thousands of under $10,000 contract that doesn't need to be reported over the last 15 years because it's under the threshold. Only the big contracts, and if you take a look at these bigger contracts like 100,000, 125, 200,000, those ones make part of the 2.6 million. I'm sure that there is thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of under 10,000 thresholds, so that we have no idea how much the Liberals have given Nick Nanos. I absolutely love data. These polling people work for the Liberal Party. They don't work for the Conservatives. I want you to take a look at this. And when you take a look at this dot chart, it covers all of the polling firms. So it takes the average. If you look at their current polling for all the parties, 44% for the Liberals, 35% for the Conservatives, and 10% for NDP. Check this out. The NDP were decimated down to 8%, but they're all the way up to 10%. You can see the trend, they're going up. But in history, the NDP represented roughly 20% of the vote. And at 20% of the vote, check out in 2023 here, the Conservatives had 35%. The NDP had 19%, and look, the Liberals only had 31%. We would have a majority Conservative government with just 35%. We just need the NDP to show up. They just need 9 more points, which is possible with Mark Carney running our country's economy into the AfroTurf. We could definitely see the NDP, and you could already see that they're rising up. People are starting to reject Mark Carney, and with his condo bailout, Liberals don't like rich condo developers. This could be one of the biggest mistakes in Mark Carney's political career. And if he doesn't get us this amazing trade deal like he promised last election he was going to get this amazing trade deal. And if he fails to get that and he asks Canadians for a strong mandate to deal with Donald Trump, there's going to be people that are going to flock out of the Liberal Party. And if they're progressives, they're going to go for the NDP with Avi Lewis. If the Conservatives just maintain their 35%, and NDP could rise up only 9 more points, the Liberals are finished. Why do you think Nick Nanos doesn't give you the information that I just gave you? It's because they want you to believe that the Conservatives have 0 chance. And as Joe Rogan here says, 8.8 million people voted Conservative last election. There's going to be a whole lot more as people realize and wake up Mark Carney has been a complete failure. Let's hear the biggest endorsement in Pierre Poilievre's career right here.
Do well, do good for the people. And I think your message resonates with me.
Thank you.
And if I was a Canadian, I would vote for you 100%.
Thank you for that. Well, it's...
Ain't that the truth? That's it for today's report. There are millions of us out there together. We need to work together to take back control of our lives. We're overtaxed. Our prosperity is getting decimated by this liberal regime. They don't want us to own real estate. They're actively attacking private property rights. They're creating mass surveillance online and all these radical bills. And our standard of living continues to go down year over year. If we do not get the change that we deserve and take back control of our destiny, this country is finished. It's so important that every single person out there can make a difference. We could do this together. Look forward to hearing from you in the comment section. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please consider subscribing. I make these daily videos for you. I'll see you on the next report.